What's up, everybody? So we're out in the shop and I am going to try and break down this build just a little bit more based on some of the conversations that people had in the comments section for the last video. And if you're wondering why I sound a little bit different, one of y'all had commented on the last video, hey, you having a problem breathing through your nose? And I was like, yeah. So anytime the weather changes as drastic as it does, where I'm at, my allergies flare up and sinuses get all messed up and stuff like that, so the way I sound changes. So when it boils down to it, I'm going to address some of the conversations that y'all had, because it wasn't just somebody said something and then I talked with them. There was a lot of other subscribers and other channels that communicated with each other, and I thought that was absolutely awesome because there was good conversation sparked up because of that last video, and I really like that. So what I'm going to do in this one is I'm going to clear up a couple of things, and I'm going to kind of address a few things in this. So hopefully we'll have a little bit of clarity by the end of this, or y'all will have more questions. It's going to be one or the other. So when it boils down to it, on this build right here, this canister that we have going on has all these layers, okay? So what I'm going to do here real quick, because I want to be able to point at what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to focus y'all back down again. So here we go. Alright, let's make you brighter. So whenever we're looking at this right here, we have those layers that we were talking about. There were some people that I think were under the assumption that I was going to be primarily focusing on forge welding the cable to the 15 and 20. That's not exactly what I'm doing. So I had a few people talk about, don't know if that's gonna forge right, or with the air and the gaps and stuff like that in there. My goal is to make this just like I would a kumai. So the copper is kind of like the binding agent for this whole entire thing. I want the copper to melt and go in between all the nooks and crannies, but I did change something up because those conversations about the gaps and stuff like that had me thinking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these strands of copper right here, and I am going to stick them in between the little gap areas, and I'm going to pack as many of them in those little gaps and stuff as much as possible so that I fill up a lot of that area with material. Now, a lot of people were also talking about, how am I going to keep this piece right here centered, that 15 and 20? Because as I start forging, things are going to start moving because the copper is going to melt. Well, what's going to keep everything centered is the cable that's on either side. So as this starts compressing, and what I'm going to do to make sure that I know that this is where it's at, I'm going to weld a line just down the side that the cutting edge and the spine is going to be on. So I'm just going to do a little weld line down here and down here, and that way I'll know to pretty much focus on hammering this side, and then every once in a while I'll use this to straighten up a little bit. But the goal is, whenever this starts compressing, these three layers will keep each other where they need to be. So I'm not super worried about this shifting to one side or the other. This should all stay together and forge together. Now, it's not going to be melting the whole entire time. So on the first heat, we're going to get it up to temp, get that stuff melted in there, and then we're going to forge it just a little bit, and then we're going to heat it back up again, get it to melting temps, forge it just a little bit. My goal is, within those first 2 or 3 cycles, we're going to compress this can down just a little bit and get it to where we're relieving the area where this copper is, and we're going to try and compress it down to about, let's say, 3/4 of the size. So we're going to take almost 1/4 of an inch in. That's the goal of kind of getting it to where only the 3 layers of different types of steel are touching each other ish, and from that point forward we're going to let it cool down a little bit, and then we're going to put it back in the forge, and we're only going to bring it up to the temperature to where we can forge it. We're not going to be bringing it back up the melting temps at that point forward. So if I get it to where there are gaps or anything like that, or if I forge it enough to where we start popping any of the welds, I'm not going to be heating this up enough to make that stuff melt again. So just like we had with the Kumai build, I'm going to turn y'all, there we go. Just like we had with the Kumai build, where I did all of that build without a can or anything like that. I just wrapped baling wire around it and I forged it out. I got the copper hot enough to be able to stick to the 15 and 20 that we had there, and everything went the way it was supposed to, because we brought it up just enough to temp to be able to forge it out, but not so much that it melted. So that's the goal with this. I could actually go through, and once I melt everything in here and compress it to 2/3 or 3/4 of its size, I could actually cut the ends off of it and stick it back in there and forge it without those on there, because I'm not going to be letting it get hot enough for that copper to squeeze out or do any of that stuff, just like it did with the Kumai build. And y'all saw that whole entire build. We didn't have copper leaking anywhere, anything like that. Everything went how it was supposed to, and that's the goal with this. I'm kind of excited about it. Now, I've had a few people suggest a few things. So originally, I was going to forge this out, and then I was going to grind the can off of it and then continue forging. I had a few people suggest going ahead and leaving the can on the side, because that mild steel will leave a cool effect whenever we do the etching and everything. And I agree. I agree with that. So I am going to leave the outside pieces right here. Now we're going to grind the mild steel all off the spine and the edge, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it on the sides. So I think that that's going to be fine. Now, one of the things that I'm going to get into is making sure that the stuff that is in here does get nice and stuck together, because the cable that's in here is stainless steel. And for those of you who have worked with stainless steel and forge welding stainless steel, two things: it doesn't like to stick very well. It is a finicky material. So that'll be something that'll come into play there a little bit. But I went this route because I didn't want to go with like a zinc coated cable or anything like that. I wanted to go with something that was uncoated. All I really have to do is clean it with acetone and it's good to go. So I think that this is going to work. I think that filling in some of those gaps with the copper cable is going to help out. Plus it's going to put more material in there, so that as I'm forging, everything's going to help kind of be where it needs to be. Plus, I did have people who were saying, hey, maybe do a vent hole, or what are you going to do about getting the air out of there? We're not focusing on forge welding all the materials like it would be with forge welding 1080 to 15 and 20. We're not doing that. We're basically melting the copper, like I said, and we are using it as the binding agent to make everything stick. And if you're wondering if copper is a decent binding agent to get steels to stick, I have taken a knife that had a lot of copper in it and then layers of 15 and 20, and I have chopped into a chunk of hard wood and sat there and chopped that over and over and over and over and over again for basically, I put out 2 different little sections of it, but I did it 4 times, and it held up amazingly well. So I'm very confident in it. I think that it's going to be just fine, and I think it's going to turn into a cool knife. But it's still going to be experimental. I think we're going to have a good chance at success here, but it is going to be managing my material, making sure that as I'm forging that I am really focusing on what needs to happen. There's a chance that at some point I'm going to have to go ahead and cut an end off of one of these sides maybe even both, and make sure that everything's where it needs to be as we're forging it, to maybe see if I need to adjust which side I'm hammering on more often. But it's going to be something that I'm going to have to really focus on and pay a lot of attention to different things, because we're trying to manage our material in a way that we have the best outcome on this build. You know, it's one thing whenever you're making layered steel, if you're going to take it and chop it up, refold it, and you're just kind of winging it with different types of Damascus or something like that. But whenever you're trying to do something like a Gomai or a Sanmai or a Kumai, and you need your steels to be lined up all the way down so that your cutting edge stays where your cutting edge needs to be, and you don't end up with copper wrapping over your cutting edge, or stainless steel wrapping over a section of your cutting edge that's not forge welded to your cutting edge or something like that. You just want to manage your material so that everything's where it needs to be. So that is what I'm working on with this. When it boils down to it though, remember, in this process we are basically making an intricate kumai. It's just a kumai with different materials than what most people do, and in a different process than what most people do. You don't see many cable setups like this to where they're running parallel with the blade. You don't see many kumais done this way or anything like that. I've looked. I didn't find a single video on someone doing something like this. So we're going to see how it goes. And if it works out, I'll be that video. So if it doesn't work out, I'll also be that video too, to show people that they don't need to do it this way. So we're going to see how that goes. I'm excited about it. I will start working on this on Wednesday, because that's going to be our first day back into like the 30s. We're supposed to get like negative 21 degrees tomorrow and the next day, and like 14 inches of snow. So we'll see how that goes, because Texas is not known for negative 21 degrees or 14 inches of snow. So we'll see how it goes. It's gonna be interesting. I wish I could get out there in the forge, but it is absolutely ridiculous. Now, I'm excited about working on this build. I'm going to talk about a couple other things real quick to give y'all a few updates on stuff. For one, I want to talk about the giveaway knife, because I've had a few people ask about this. When it comes to the giveaway knife, which, where is that knife right now? I had it up on this, oh, there it is. It's on my magnetic thing. Giveaway knife. So, this knife right here, which is, of course, forged from ADCRB2, if you've been following along with that. That knife, I'm going to be doing the giveaway for that at 20,000 subscribers. So that is the goal, 20,000 subscribers. We're going to have about another month of focusing on this. So we'll probably hit that 20,000 subscriber mark right at that point. I'm breaking this down into segments, like I said, that are very digestible, small segments, so that y'all can actually see the more intricate sections of what I'm doing, and y'all can have an idea of how to do those things. So we're going into more depth with this particular build than any of my other builds that I've ever done, and we're doing that on our Shop Talk Tuesdays, so it's pretty cool. If you haven't been watching the Shop Talk Tuesdays, you should probably watch those, because we're doing a bunch of cool stuff with that. But yeah, the subscriber count that we're going to be giving that away at is 20,000 subscribers. With the amount of subscribers we're getting every single day, it shouldn't take that long, and like I said, we should be hitting it right at about the time we finish this build. So I'm excited about that. I think it's going to be pretty cool, and this is going to be just a giveaway. Basically, just like I did my last couple of giveaways, all I'm going to do on the video that we release for the actual giveaway itself, what all you'll do on that video, whenever I release that video, is I'll give you a couple of things to comment in the comment section, and as long as you follow those rules, I'm opening it up to the world. So no matter where you live, I'm going to do a random comment generator, and what it's going to do is it's going to sort out each unique person. So if you comment 10 times, it's not going to matter. You're only going to get one entry. It's it's going to do, it's going to separate out the unique commenters, and then it's going to put them into a group. I'm going to randomize it, and it's going to cycle through, and it's going to pick a random person. And whoever that is, I'm going to have them contact me, and I'm going to send them that knife for free. I'll pay all the shipping. I'll get all that stuff done. And that's how it's going to work. It's a very simple setup. Nothing really complicated, but I'll go into more detail in the actual giveaway video where I'm talking about really how you enter in more detail and what it's about, why I do them, and all that stuff. But 20,000 subscribers is the subscriber count. If you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe because it's going to help us get to that point. But it'll be cool because it's going to be a super unique forged 80 CRV2 kind of camp knife slash hunting knife. So there you go. If you have any questions about that, leave them in the comment section. Now, the other builds that I have that's coming up, I'm going to get into some of those on the next Shop Talk Tuesday, but I want to let y'all know about two of the things that we're going to be working on coming up. I just ordered the steel for one of them. We are going to be doing it's a pretty big knife. We're going to be doing two large knives over the next couple of builds. So one of the next ones that's going to be coming up, I am going to be doing a two-handed chopper. So it's going to be a two-handed handle. It's going to be a knife. And it is going to be made out of 1/4 inch 80 CRV2, so the 1/4 inch stuff that I use. And it is going to be a large drop point recurve chopper that's two-handed. And when it's all said and done, it should be about 20 inches, maybe 24 inches, maybe 2 feet long. It's going to be a pretty large knife. You should be able to use it like an axe if you want to. That's going to be pretty cool. The handle is going to be a really cool handle shape, but it's going to kind of resemble a little bit of like a axe handle-ish, but it's going to go into the knife blade and everything. It's going to be a pretty beefy son of a gun. My goal is to be able to cut through a 2x4 with it in between 5 to 7 strikes. So we're going to see how that goes. It's going to be a beefy son of a gun. I'll tell you that. It's going to be a full tang, just big old knife. And I wanted to do something like that for a little while. I've seen a few people do two-handed knives. And yeah, it's not exactly a sword, but it is going to be a big old chopper. And I just want to create something massive like that. Now, one of the other builds that I'm going to be doing, and I might have another build sprinkled in the middle of this, but I'm going to be doing a wakizashi because we have Dennis at Tyrell Knife Works. He's doing his wakizashi build. I think that we've got another builder that's going to be doing his. I don't know if he's released the video saying that he's going to do that yet. I'm going to wait on that. If you've released the video, you know who you are. Go down in the comment section and say, yeah, I'm the one that's doing that. I think you did, but I don't want to spoil it for you. Now, I am going to be doing a wakizashi as well, but I'm going to do it the Rivers Experience way. So one of us is doing it the super traditional way, which is going to be badass, and then we're going to have one of us doing a more modern take on it, and then you're going to have me doing my take on it, which, let's just be real. You think it's going to be kind of different? Do I do different stuff? I feel like I do. What do y'all think? Y'all want me to do a Rivers Experience take on a wakizashi? I'm interested to see what y'all think. Let me know. Comment section. Talk about it. Guys, that's pretty much the end of this one. Hopefully I gave y'all a little bit more input on this and helping y'all understand what's going on with it, and understanding that I am not forge welding all of this together. I'm using the copper as the binding agent for it. Understanding that it doesn't matter if there are little bits of air in there, because we are just melting the copper, getting it to stick to each other inside there. If there's little pockets of air, it's not going to matter. We're going to get everything filled in how it needs to be. I think it's going to work. I think we're going to have a good chance at this happening. Because I'm not sitting here trying to forge weld a bunch of stuff and I don't have a bunch of heavy steel inside here. I should be able to hand forge this just fine. I have moved a 1 inch by 1 inch square of solid steel before, and I work with a lot of 5160 spring steel, truck leaf springs and all that stuff, which is not easy to move. I've forged out tons of knives with that, so I'm pretty confident in being able to move this stuff by hand. All I'm going to do is maintain my heat and make sure that I'm getting nice, consistent hammer blows on it. So it is what it is. We got this. Guys, thank y'all for coming by. Thank y'all for watching this video. Again, hopefully that helped you out. But if y'all haven't yet, thumbs up, share this video or one of my other videos. Guys, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell, but definitely subscribe because 20,000 subscribers is going to be when we give away this knife. Guys, thank y'all for coming by, spending your time with me. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there. And I'll catch y'all next time, which is going to be the Shop Talk Tuesday. So be looking forward to that. All right, guys. Bye.